You're listening to Cinematic Adventures, proud member of the Misfit Faction Media Network.
Good morning, Vietnam!
I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I feel the need for speed.
Road, where we're going, we don't need roads.
Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
Vices? We don't need no vices. I don't have to show you any stinking vices.
You make me want to be a better man.
Nobody puts baby in a corner.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
Love means never having to say you're sorry.
He's looking at you, kid.
Not bad. I'm just drawn that way.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cinematic Adventures. Don't forget, if you guys are listening to us on the go, you can find us on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, basically anywhere you guys get your podcasts. You can also find more of our content on our website, themisfitfaction.com. There you find links to not only this show, but our other shows like the Multiverse Fancast and MF Uncensored. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Paul. With me in the studio today is the happiest guy during the happiest time of the year, Sean. Sean, how are you today?
I'm wonderful.
It is
almost Christmas.
It is a wonderful life, Sean.
It is.
Yeah. Things are good.
Doing all right.
Things are doing all right. But we want to thank you guys for listening. We are releasing this a couple of hours late, and it's Paul's fault. So we'll just start there.
It's not Paul's fault. Paul does all the hard work, man. Leave him alone.
Nobody's really yelling at me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Then I don't feel bad for you at all.
Okay, that's fair. So we are continuing. It is the holiday season, and we racked our brains about. We wanted to think of things outside the box a little bit for this. We discussed whether or not Beauty and the Beast counts as a holiday movie.
Does not.
There's a scene that takes place during the holidays.
It's not a holiday movie.
She gets a library and everything. But anyway, I'm going to call that a gift too.
No pressure.
And we also looked at It's a Wonderful Life and some other films in that kind of vein. We also debated whether or not to release A Christmas Story 2 after Christmas. Apparently, we can't do that, according to one co-host.
Because I truly believe neither of us are actually going to watch the movie.
Bet. Watch me. I'm going to do it.
Okay, good.
I'm going to do it.
I hope you do.
I hope you do.
I'm not going to.
Well, then you're just missing out.
I am so behind on all my Christmas movies. I have literally tomorrow's my day off. I'm going to be watching like all the Christmas movies that I normally do watch. I'm not going to waste an hour and a half of my time watching that.
What if we should do a bonus episode on the Santa Claus's TV show?
Yeah, we could.
Yeah, we can do that.
It wasn't bad. Wasn't great. It got renewed for a second season.
I didn't watch any of it.
It was all right.
Full disclosure.
It was all right.
Denny's. It's always
Did
open.
it have to happen? No. But that's a lot of things, yeah. A lot of things are like that.
Bernard. That's all I'll say. So
he does have a funny scene. It is pretty funny.
So this is the time of year where we also look at some of the more famous adaptations. Now, we talked about a Muppet Christmas Carol last year, and we really wanted to kind of take a look and see the entire A Christmas Carol franchise, I guess.
Yes, you could say that.
As a whole, because, oh my God.
It's one of the good stories ever written, and it's one of the probably juiciest roles any actor would want to, portray in their career.
I get uncomfortable when you say juiciest.
Why?
I don't know, because your hand's on my thigh?
Not really.
Don't worry about it. That's why we don't do video on this podcast. That and I can't do the editing. I'm sorry. Nobody wants to see us anyway. But so we
Face for radio.
Face for radio. Oh, I still have a face for radio and a voice for libraries. But anyway, so we wanted to look at kind of the franchise as a whole. We're going to talk a little bit in the first half about, the general story, because most of the adaptations of this will follow the general beat for beat. Mm-hmm. It may not always be Ebenezer Scrooge. It may be a different character who's experiencing basically the same setup. And then we'll take a quick break. And then in the second half, we're going to talk about some of the most famous adaptations, talk about the first ones that we saw, our favorites, all that type of stuff. So, first and foremost, Sean.
Yes, sir.
Who is the star of A Christmas Carol?
That is Ebenezer Scrooge.
Have you ever met anybody named Ebenezer?
No, but I think they should bring it back.
You think they should bring back the name Ebenezer?
Sure.
Do you think it has...
I don't think any kid would truly be loved by his parents if he was called Ebenezer.
I think his nickname would be Ebby. Let's go with Ebby. I like Ebby.
Or Nez.
Nez. That's a good one.
Nez.
Or Poor Unfortunate Child. Because, oh my God, if they bring that name back, I can't. So the original book, though, was written in, 1843?
1843 by Charles Dickens. Yes.
Charles Dickens, the man, the myth, the guy who wrote books that I've never read. Have you ever read the actual Christmas Carol? Really? The actual book?
Yeah.
All right, so...
We had to read it back in middle school.
Did we?
Well, I don't know about you. We didn't know each other yet, but depending on which English teacher you had.
Weird.
But I know it was done in a play adaptation, but we read it.
Oh, yeah. I think maybe I vaguely remember that. So the original book is split up into 5 chapters, or what Dickens called staves, because why not be a little bougie about it? Why not just be like, hey, it's my book? It's kind of like how when we say, hey, it's our podcast. So also, fun fact, Sean, I didn't even tell you this. Our good friend Brendan, a.k.a. BlindBat8719, was listening to you on the Smallville episode. And he said that we have really good chemistry and naturally laugh together.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
I wanted to point that out because Sean had to look away from the microphone. I don't know why he had to look away from it because, like, it doesn't have eyes.
It's not looking away. It's when you call Charles Dickens bougie, and I'm just like...
Why? He's not here.
I know, but it was just funny.
Who'd win in a fight? Charles Dickens or Edgar Allan Poe?
Oh, Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah, I feel like he'd be wimpy. Like,
I don't
like
know.
the
They're
king,
both dead.
the emo king. Like,
It'd be like Tim Burton fighting Steven Spielberg.
speaking of which, have you seen Wednesday yet? Totally off that
Episodes.
Yeah, we just watched the first two.
Not bad.
Not bad.
It's got a Riverdale feel to it.
It's like the Addams Family Riverdale.
Yeah.
I'll get behind that.
But I've said that to numerous people, and they say it's better.
Okay,
It gets
all right.
better.
I mean, and I'm enjoying it as it is.
No, she's great.
Jenna Ortega. Yeah,
and
you got this. I believe in you.
Now the Jones, even though I've only seen her in the first episode.
Fun fact: producer Melanie met Catherine Zeta-Jones.
I believe it. They lived in
Bedford.
Yeah,
and she would frequent Starbucks when Melanie would work there. Said it was very nice.
So did my girlfriend. Worked at that same Starbucks at one point, and also she actually remembers her drink.
Oh yeah. The things that producer Melanie remembers, like, randomly, it's wild. So, going back to the actual podcast episode, because that just
Merry
happened.
Christmas, everybody.
And Happy New Year. Anyway. Oh, by the way, I totally forgot that Ghostbusters 2 is a New Year's movie.
Yes, I think we should do that. Did we talk about Ghostbusters?
We talked about the whole franchise.
Yeah, but Ghostbusters 2, I think, deserves its own episode.
You want to do? We can do an episode for
I'm just
this.
saying,
Bonus
it's that
episode.
good of a movie.
Bonus episode. All right, there we go. Or
Bonus.
something we do next week. I mean, I'm off.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go. So, going back, though, to this actual story, because we'll eventually get there. Everybody kind of knows the general setup. So we have Ebenezer Scrooge, who is, I feel like that is also like a way to describe anybody who's just selfish and greedy.
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely a term now. It's like you're such a Scrooge or you're such an Ebenezer, someone who is
such a nebby.
Old, cantankerous, just mean, crotchety, cares so much about money, that type of stuff, that type of thing.
Now, there is only one good Scrooge. Who do you think is the one good Scrooge?
What do you mean? Like the actor?
No, one character that is a Scrooge that is a good guy. Come on, you can do this.
Oh, Scrooge McDuck.
Oh, thank God. I was really worried about it. Yeah. Catchiest theme song of all time.
Oh.
I think we talked about it in our 90s episode. I did mention that DuckTales.
I think all of those theme songs are catchy.
They don't do theme songs anymore.
No, it's a lost art.
Just like how we don't stick to any sort of script.
Absolutely. We're all over the place here.
Oh, this is wild. This is
I like it.
This is in between my work shifts that we managed to sit down.
Yeah, Paul's got to work again later. That's
So we have Ebenezer Scrooge, and basically the story revolves around him being visited by three ghosts: the past, the present, the future, and they're all designed to get him to change his ways.
Yes.
Now we have a ton of other characters and supporting characters in this.
Jacob Marley, his former business partner, who just like him was a miser, a very mean and cantankerous man, who died 7 years before the book takes place.
What the hell's a miser?
Miser.
Just
a
a guy.
I've
never.
I'm
miser.
sorry. Why am I having a hard time describing what it is? It's Scrooge. He's a miser.
Yeah.
He cares about money, and that's all he cares about.
What do they do?
He will throw you out on your of your house, if you can't pay, that type of stuff.
So they kind of work like banking, I guess.
Yeah, I guess he's loans.
Yep. Oh, what a terrible person already.
Yeah.
So you have Scrooge, you have Jacob Marley. It's weird how it took 7 years for Marley to finally get there. I mean, he must have walked.
Well, because I think I don't know. Maybe it just to a point where it's like, oh, he'll get better. No. or Marley was the type to maybe he was like, this isn't bad, and then finally, with 7 years later, it's like, oh, I can't let Scrooge go through this.
I feel like it has something to do with Tiny Tim and the fact that he was about to die.
Possibly.
So
perfect timing, though.
I know, right? So he's visited by the ghost of Jacob Marley, and he is shown 3 different visions of how he was when he was a child, all full of joy and merriment. Then as, older teenager, young adults getting
Depending
ready to...
on the adaptation is how you see him. And then...
And you start to see kind of the seeds being formed.
And then the present ghost will show him Bob Cratchit's living style and how He's totally unaware how poor Bob Cratchit is,
And the nephew.
the nephew Fred, his nephew Fred, and what he truly thinks about his uncle.
I find that in most adaptation, he does try and defend his uncle. It's
He does.
everybody else that's like, he's a terrible
You're
person.
Right. There are different adaptations, and then obviously the future ghost will show him that he's already dead. He doesn't know it. It's kind of a foreshadowing. Shows people he talks to speak down on him. Shows his housekeeper stealing his bed curtains around his dead body.
I love it.
Now I'm going to say this.
Say this.
I judge an adaptation of A Christmas Carol on the Jacob Marley scene alone.
I judge A Christmas Carol based on how scary the ghost of A Christmas Future is.
That's fair. I just always felt it was a guy in a hood. It just didn't scare me as much as Jacob Marley did.
What would be the scariest Ghost of Christmas Future? The one from Scrooge is actually kind of terrifying.
From which one?
Scrooged with Bill Murray.
Yeah.
It's just something because I think it's real and it's very like just like in the world.
The one in the Jim Carrey Robert Zemeckis one was pretty. The way they did that was pretty interesting.
I keep getting taken out of it because of the effects. They have not aged well.
I actually don't. They don't bother me.
Well, we'll talk about some of our adaptations, but really the problem with that one is the fact that it's in 3D and it's not supposed to be.
No,
they designed it for 3D.
I remember seeing it in theaters, and we're just like, this. There's no reason for this to be in 3D.
It's rough, but so we have the Cratchit family, which is Bob Cratchit. He's just a happy-go-lucky, like he's just happy to be alive.
For a guy that makes no money, works for an absolutely despicable person, he's just so optimistic.
Is there an adaptation where Scrooge actually cuts a penny in half and gives it to him? I feel like there's one.
I think that's the Disney one.
Yeah, something like that, where he cuts a penny.
I think that's the Disney one.
Or no, you know what I'm thinking of? This is a weird callback. You ever see the movie Mafia?
The sad part is I knew that's where you were going because I remember that scene
He
where
cuts the penny
in half.
I give you the bigger half.
Give me the bigger half. Oh, you're a good man.
I don't know. Just because I guess like the old style clothing and just blah, blah, blah. But anyway, so Bob Cratchit wants to leave early on Christmas Eve. It's like the one night.
I mean, like, that's just, you can't ask for that. That's just unacceptable.
Ridiculous. Bob Hoskins played him in the adaptation, the Zemeckis one. I think it was Bob Hoskins.
No, he wasn't Bob Cratchit. He was Fezziwig.
Oh, that's right.
Gary Oldman played Bob Cratchit.
That's right. So after he gets asked to, can I go home early?
Can I go home early? Can I not have to work tomorrow? It's Christmas Day.
I'm pretty sure Scrooge lets him go home early, but says he's got to come in for Christmas or something like that.
He always says, well, you got to work tomorrow. So it's Christmas. Okay, well then be here earlier the next morning.
Yeah.
Like, then there's some adaptations where they're like only work a half day or come in later in the day. It's interesting how each adaptation changes it.
They keep the general frame.
ideas there.
Yeah,
the general framework is there.
And say what you will, all these different adaptations have some sort of unique style. Even the ones that aren't good, quote unquote, there's still something to be enjoyed in them.
Yeah.
So Scrooge goes home. He also turns down his nephew. Like the nephew's like, "Hey, come over for Christmas and like we'll be friends because like I'm a cool guy." And he's like, "Hey, nephew, shut up, bah humbug." I've never heard anybody actually use that phrase.
Bah humbug.
Yeah.
Again, very much like the name Ebenezer. I just don't think it's in the lexicon anymore.
Who would win in a fight? Yes. Ho 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 or bah humbug? Yeah, I would say ho 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 because
double beating.
Everybody needs some hoes in their lives.
I was about to say double beating.
There's some hoes in this house.
That's fair. Wow.
That's a song. And also, producer Melanie got pillows that say ho ho and ho on them, and she put them on my couch because I have my chair upstairs, and I go, "Why are there hoes on my chair?" Yelling that out. The windows are open. Neighbors are like, "What the hell's going on?" But anyway, so I digress. Anywho, so Scrooge ends up going home.
I need a drink after this episode.
I know.
Jeez.
I know, right? There's also a lot of candles in this. Everybody's always got a candle. Like Scrooge walks.
Because it's the 1800s. There's no electricity.
But so my bigger concern is like they just went to sleep with those on a lot of the time.
Yes.
Like.
That's why I find it funny that people are so afraid of going to sleep with candles on. I'm just like, that's how the world existed before electricity.
And that's why
people survived.
Everybody died at 30. But so he is then visited by the ghost of Jacob Marley. Now, Jacob Marley, there's always something really cool about how they do it. I think the first Christmas Carol adaptation I saw was the Mickey Mouse one.
Yes.
And isn't Goofy the ghost of...
Goofy is the ghost of Jacob Marley.
And they usually do the doorknob.
The doorknob is to me, that's...
an iconic part of it.
It's, again, I always judge it on how are they going to pull off Jacob Marley's appearance. How terrifying is it going to be? How ghoulish is it going to be? Even Mickey's Christmas Carol, I mean, it's goofy.
Yeah.
And it's creepy.
And Goofy's dead.
He is. He's got the bandage around his, head, which I never knew what that meant.
Yeah.
But it has something to do with
how he died.
I think it's cancer in the mouth.
Because in the Zemeckis one, like the mouth is actually
off,
like
the
flapping.
Like
nearly headless Nick.
Terrifying, man.
Yeah. You know what? Kudos to Goofy.
Yeah.
Goofy is a single dad who put his son through college and then went back for his degree and did a disco fight.
That's right.
You know what? Sometimes you just gotta see it eye to eye.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if we listen to each other's, all right, I'm done. You gave me the look.
I didn't give you the look.
You gave me the look. But anyway.
All right.
So after he's visited, Marley, in whatever adaptation it is, Marley always tells him, "You're going to be visited by these ghosts, past, present, future." They've never gone out of order. It's always been past,
Untrue.
present. Really? Oh,
Yes.
I lied.
Mr. Magoo's Christmas Carol. Don't ask me why.
Because you couldn't see which one was which.
That's a very good point. For some reason, in that adaptation, it's Christmas present comes first, then past, then future. That's the only adaptation I've ever seen it out of order like that. But
Does it add anything to the story?
Not at all.
Yeah.
To me, like the past going first makes more sense because
it brings you back to that mindset.
It brings you back. It brings Scrooge back to his childhood. It brings back to seeing what he was as a child, getting his emotions a little more in place. To then see the Cratchit family makes more sense to me instead of just showing him the Cratchit family right off the bat. But again, like I said, only adaptation that does it. It really didn't change anything in that one. So, but for some reason, that's the only one I know of that changed it.
So in the book, it shows him, his lonely childhood at the boarding school, but he's got a sister in the original book named Fan,
and you see that in a couple of adaptations. A lot of adaptations don't even include her.
Yeah.
So that's
which is weird because we know he has a nephew. Duh. Wow. And also the employer, Mr. Fezwig, who treats him like a son. And sometimes they show him young enough where he has a relationship. Sometimes they show him as an actual child.
Yep.
Like it's something different. And I like to think that each adaptation plays with it a little bit. The present one you can't play with as much.
No, because it's basically the Cratchit family is the big one.
Yeah.
It's his nephew Fred is the one that changes. But I think the Cratchit family is very, in almost every adaptation, maybe it changes how many kids he has.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's Tiny Tim and just seeing how his family survives on the absolute no money that Scrooge pays him.
I would actually argue that Tiny Tim is just as iconic, if not more, than Scrooge. Like, I always think of The Mask. Tell Tiny Tim I'm not going to be coming home this Christmas. But, like, Tiny Tim became very synonymous with the idea. And obviously his line, "God bless us, everyone."
God bless us, everyone.
I just said that.
No, you didn't.
I
Not
did.
in that voice.
No, I didn't say it in that voice because, you know what? I have a face for radio. And that's that.
That's true.
Jack. But anywho, God, stop distracting me. You know how easily distracted I am.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was I distracted? How was I doing in that?
Because you said what I said, but in a different... All right, shut up. Get out of here. But anywho, again... So Tiny Tim is I don't know if they ever say what he's actually sick with, but he walks, he's got the
tuberculosis,
probably something like that.
Because I know, like in some adaptations, he's coughing a lot. In some adaptations, he's just limping. You don't know what it could be.
Depends on how Disney it is.
That's a fair point.
But he usually has some sort of walking stick, and obviously there's the scenes of him being carried at the end by Scrooge. But so we also get to see Fred's Christmas party, and for the most part, everybody's like, "Hey, what about your uncle?" And Fred's like, "Come on, guys. Like, he's not that bad." And they're like, "He's literally a terrible person. Like, the worst possible person." They usually make fun of him. They make jokes at his expense. And he's, just standing there watching like a bitch. But anyway. And then we have stage 4 in the book. Oh, wait. I will scratch this also. The spirit of Christmas present also shows him 2 hideous emaciated children named Ignorance and Want.
Yes.
He tells Scrooge to beware of them and mocks Scrooge's concern for their welfare. So we don't get that in a lot of the adaptations.
No, you got that in the Jim Carrey one,
yes.
Which was actually
terrifying.
Quite creepy. You get it in the 1951 version, which I'm definitely going to be talking about in the second part. After that, I don't think you see it in many others. It really depends on the type of, obviously, adaptation you're doing.
And the audience.
You're not going to do that in a Muppet Christmas Carol. You're not going to do that in Scrooge. You're not going to do that in...
I can see Pepe the Shrimp as one of the emancipated. Hello, do you want me?
God.
Anywho. And then we get to stage 4 where... Stave. I said it, and as soon as I said it, I read it, and as soon as I read it, I said, "Paul, you suck." And then I looked at Sean hoping and wishing and ignorantly wanting for him to not say a thing, and he immediately said, hey, here's a thing. Anywho, again.
Sorry.
Gosh, it's worse. I can't wait till you're talking about all these movies at the end, and I'm like, da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
That's fine. It's
Like
your
a good-
podcast.
It's our podcast, and right
but-
now I'm not feeling that. So, stave 4 is where Sean's losing it. I love it. My goal is just to see how much I can make Sean lose at this episode. We haven't even talked about any of the movies.
No.
You got the Ghost of Christmas Future, and usually it's depicted as some sort of death or hooded figure, and it's just terrifying.
Or Pete.
Or Pete, which is terrifying as
The
well.
only guest Ghost of Christmas Future that talks.
Yes, and still horrifying.
Yeah.
And, obviously Scrooge is like, no, I don't want to die. Like, and everybody forget about me and say that I'm terrible and blah, blah, blah. I can change. I'm 75 years old. There's plenty of time left for me. You're going to die anyway, Scrooge. Just, live it up, buddy. So he wakes up in his bed the next morning, and we have the iconic scene. Boy, what day is it? It's
Christmas Day.
I cooked a goose for everyone. So he goes to the Cratchit house, gives them first I think he stops at Fred's sometimes.
Again, depending on the adaptation. Sometimes he goes straight to the Cratchits and stays there. Sometimes he doesn't go to the Cratchit house, sends them the goose, but then he goes to Fred's.
Yeah.
So again, it's interesting how it changes,
And he finally embodies the spirit of Christmas.
Oh.
Then dies 4 weeks later
Most
from
likely.
old age. And we never find out what happens to Tiny Tim. In some adaptations, they show that he lives a very happy, because Cratchit gets paid more money, he can take him for treatments. God, the 1800s must have sucked.
Oh, dude, it's crazy.
And that is the book of A Christmas Story.
A book.
With some references to the movies. Now, we are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to actually talk about movies on this movie podcast.
Aww.
But first, a quick break. Hey guys, it's Paul, and the Misfit Faction is looking for your help. We are trying to grow not only our network, but also grow our brands, and the best way to do that is if you guys are looking to start your very own podcast. Maybe you guys have been listening to us for a while. Maybe it's something you guys have always wanted to do, but you're not sure how to get started. If you go to podbean.com/misfitfaction, you guys will get a month of free podcasting on us. That is a gift from us. So make sure if you guys are looking to start your own show, you reach out to us and go to podbean.com/misfitfaction. Also, maybe you guys have your own online business or service that you're always looking to grow, and advertising is a very big part of that. If you guys go to sponsorship.podbean.com/misfitfaction, you guys can get $100 worth of free advertising, again, as a thank you from us to you guys. That's sponsorship.podbean.com/misfitfaction. All right, we are back, and I'm going to turn the microphone over to Sean because Sean has quite the extensive knowledge of film adaptations of A Christmas Carol. We're going to talk about not every single one of them because, let's face it, we don't have all night.
No, not at all.
No,
not, at all.
not even a little. So, really quick though, do you remember the first one that you saw?
I don't remember in my head the first time I ever saw a Christmas Carol adaptation, but I'm pretty confident it was Mr. Magoo's Christmas Carol because that's been one of the staples of holiday movies that I watch every year. Which, if you think about it, it's like, who would have thought to put Mr. Magoo in the story of A Christmas Carol?
I didn't see it coming.
So that was always a fun animated special to watch every year. So that's probably the first one I ever saw. Probably right after that, I would say it would have been Muppet Christmas Carol because that's, 30 years ago.
Was it really?
Yeah, 1992.
Oh, I need to. That was. Oh, wow. Oh my God. I need. Oh.
Right. You need a drink now, don't you? You can't drink though.
Just talk.
Just talk. Okay. Well, sorry, Paul is seriously existential crisis right now.
Just crisis.
So, Muppet Christmas Carol, 1992. We've already talked about it in a previous episode. Definitely recommend you seeing it. Very well done movie.
Surprisingly
well done movie.
Now, say what you will, I think we need more Muppet adaptations of beloved literature.
I think we've passed that point now.
I think this is the time. This is the Renaissance, I believe. As much as I love
the Muppets.
I love the Muppet movie, the first one.
Oh, the Muppet movie's great. I love all the Muppet movies, honestly.
Yeah.
Except for Muppets from Space. So
Muppets Most Wanted was okay.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, but like the reboot they did was, I know you hate Walter.
I don't hate Walter.
One of my favorite things in the entire franchise is when he tries to throw him over the electric fence and he gets hit and he zaps and he drops. And he's like, Walter, you okay? Throw me again. What do you mean throw you? You should throw me higher the first time. It's just really funny, and it always gets me. Anywho, but who would have thought like the Muppets of all things would have produced one of? I would say it's an iconic piece.
Yeah, I think it's grown with age. I mean, it's you have a well-respected actor, Michael Caine, playing Scrooge, and playing it as if he's playing the character on the British stage. I mean, he's not talking to the Muppets as if they're puppets. He's talking to them as if they are the true characters of the show. And it took I thought, a really brilliant turn in making Gonzo Charles Dickens and have him narrate the story as we go along.
And that's another thing. In a lot of these adaptations, like the Zemeckis one starts off with a book and like you're reading from the book, and then it ends with Cratchit narrating.
Yeah.
And like in person too. So was he Charles Dickens the whole time?
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, I think that might have been an oversight, but that's just me.
I would say, so the next one that I'm going to talk about, to me, this is the greatest adaptation of A Christmas Carol ever done, and that is the 1951 Scrooge, starring Alastair Sim as Scrooge, Michael Hordern as Jacob Marley. My dad showed me this film. I had to have been 7, 8 years old. This movie terrified me.
Are you okay?
Oh yeah, still terrified to this day. But
yeah,
obviously it's a British interpretation of it, British film, a black and white, just so well done. He is the best Scrooge I think that's ever been done.
That is a bold statement.
I will stand by that. As much as I love Michael Caine, George C. Scott has done it, Patrick Stewart has done it. I think Alastair Sim is the greatest Ebenezer Scrooge ever put on film. The Jacob Marley scene still creeps me out to this day. And I mean, it's 1951, so effects wise, it's very like it's does not hold up to what you can do. Well. Yeah, but it still works. So like instead of the knocker, becoming his face, it's more just his face is planted on the knocker. The ghost is clearly they filmed him in a different room and he's just bled onto the film. So it's like the Scrooge is looking at nothing and Ebony and Jacob Marley is just there. But it just between the way he portrays Marley, it's creepy. And also in the Ghost of Christmas Past sequence, they do a lot. Like it's a good almost 40 minutes of Christmas Past.
That's a lot.
Yeah. But there's a lot of good stuff there that you never see in other interpretations. You see his sister, the relationship he had with his sister. They loved each other. You see her die.
Is there an awkwardly placed musical number?
No. There's absolutely no music.
Isn't it the Muppets where they throw a musical number in?
Well, I mean, you have the songs. You have, Scrooge, Marley and Marley.
Oh, yeah. I could have sworn that there is one that maybe they had a song.
There was a musical version of A Christmas Carol with Albert Finney as Scrooge, which is not bad. It's not great, but it's definitely decent. But you see why he is not in a good relations with his nephew, because he very much like his father hated him because his mother died giving birth to Ebenezer Scrooge. He hates his nephew because his sister died giving birth to him. So it just adds a lot more to the backstory of Scrooge. You see how he works for Fezziwig. You see how he meets Jacob Marley. You see how he leaves Fezziwig to work for another person, then gets rich and buys out Fezziwig and screws him over.
Oh, man, what a terrible person.
It's just very, very well done. Very well done.
Very well done.
What about you? What's your go-to?
So I do believe that the first one I really saw was Mickey's Christmas Carol. You got Scrooge McDuck, Donald Duck. Who is Mickey in it? He's Bob Cratchit. That's right. And like they just make up a little Mickey for Tiny Tim.
That's right. Yeah. And then what's good about that movie is you see like all these just random old Disney characters in it. Like,
it's great.
See like the cows, the cows, the Mr. Toad.
Everybody wants Mr. Toad's Wild Ride.
Who's the
Definitely.
Rabbit and the Toad from Robin Hood.
Oh, yeah.
You just see them playing in the snow. I mean, like I just said, it's just random characters from previous Disney movies are in there as characters.
Obviously, the Muppet Christmas Carol. We've talked about it, and we thoroughly enjoy it, both of us. It's something that, if it's on, I'll always throw it on. Producer Melanie is a big fan of Scrooge, though, with Bill Murray. She watches it every year. She's got it on the DVR just in case. And
I think it's very, very like Christmas Vacation. It's become a staple to a lot of people.
And it's grown on me. Like I didn't like it as much as a kid because I think when you're younger, you want like the colors and the cartoony kind of, and then as you grow up, you grow up. And obviously, we love Bill Murray. here at Cinematic Adventures, and I would love to just sit with him for 10 minutes and just talk to him. But for us, like, to have Bill Murray,
need more than 10 minutes.
even if that's all I got, like, I'll make the most out of it.
Oh, yeah.
Just hug me. Just hold me. Tell me about Garfield. Anywho, so for me, like, those are some of my go-tos. I can't really remember some of the live-action ones that I've seen, because I've seen a few.
Yeah.
Because the problem with A Christmas Carol is they blend the live actions.
Oh, yeah.
Because the story's the exact same.
That's what I'm saying. It's there's been so many adaptations, you kind of...
It's like...
Can't remember all of them.
Can't remember all of them. But for me, like, you also have television does a lot of adaptations of A Christmas Carol.
Yep. Mr. Magoo was one. The Jetsons did a Christmas Carol episode. The Flintstones did a Christmas Carol. I mean, all of them.
Boy Meets World did theirs.
Boy Meets World.
Because they can also do it in a way that it's not so much like for like Mickey's Christmas Carol, they've made all their characters different, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You can still do it without having to really go deep into your character well.
Yeah.
Like, you could keep it pretty self-contained, and in just a half hour, like, you can do it.
Ah, it's an easy.
So
you can cut so much out of it and still get the bare bones of the story.
In all honesty, you just need somebody to tell the main character, hey, there's going to be 3 ghosts.
I mean, look at Mickey's Christmas Carol. I think it's
not long.
30 minutes long?
Yeah, it's very short.
I mean, it's...
Our podcast episode right now is already longer than that.
Really?
Yeah, we're at 31 minutes.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
how dare we?
I know. Longer than a Mickey's Christmas Carol. But Boy Meets World did it. Saved by the Bell did it. Like, a lot of the 90s shows. It's not as common anymore, though.
No.
You don't get it as much. And I think that's a shame, because I feel like people are afraid. Well, actually, no. They just did Spirited with Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds. I haven't seen it yet, but it is. But basically, I think the two of them basically play the ghosts, and they constantly like try and help people.
Oh,
so it's like, this is what they do. I don't know too much about it. I would sit down and watch that film just because I like the two of them.
That's Apple TV, I think.
Yeah, but unfortunately, I don't have any. I don't think I have Apple TV.
No, you probably don't.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, well, I'm gonna have to.
Do we want to talk about the Jim Carrey one? Because I mean, that's probably the most recent adaptation.
All right. So first, before we talk about the Jim Carrey one, just to set the scene for everyone, we decided in our very early 20s, that this was the movie that we would not only try and make our own, but also enjoy some snacks of an herbal variety. I will not say where that goes, but that's that. And we lost our minds during the middle of the movie with the Ghost of Christmas Past. We lost our minds to the point where I was afraid somebody was going to tell us to get out.
I don't think we were that bad.
Oh my God, the laughter was bad. The laughter was bad because
it's all Roddy's fault.
So they do a good job, because when you do animation, you have a little bit of liberty to create the ghost however you see fit. Mm-hmm. Marley is terrifying in that.
Yes.
And he's gross. Jim Carrey keeps it relatively tame for this movie as far as Jim Carrey goes.
Oh, yeah, he doesn't do anything Jim Carrey-ish, really.
Every once in a while, you'll get something.
Moment.
But, you know, it's based more on, like, it still creeps me out, that animation, like the Polar Express style animation.
See, I thought, well, I'll stay here and say I've never seen the Polar Express, so
that's fine.
You know, but the Christmas Carol one doesn't bother me as much. Like Beowulf.
Oh yeah,
remember that?
Oh, that was rough.
Then Mars Needs Moms came out, and I think that killed it. I think that was,
because that movie tanks so bad.
Yeah.
But so they were doing this thing. This was a really big thing, and they still every once in a while you'll see a movie with it, especially from Zemeckis. He likes this style.
He hasn't done
anything.
No, because he stopped doing it because I just think so many.
Where they would
take successful.
It was a motion capture animation style.
Yeah.
Like they would animate it, but it would also be motion capture. So like
the person would be acting out the movie, and you'd have like the green dots. It was very the Gollum. It was like, you know,
early stages, very early stages, and the whole thing was animated though. So it wasn't like this animated character like Gollum in the actual film and interacting with real people. So this one was interesting. They do some really good things in it. Like there's some really cool stuff. Like the Ghost of Christmas Present basically makes the house into like almost like an airplane, where it's like the house is moving and the scene changes with the house and where the house is. It's actually really cool visually. Again, this movie was also designed. They're like, we're gonna also make this 3D because that was the thing at the time.
Yeah, 3D was making its
rounds.
Making its rounds that time.
There's only one 3D. There's two 3D movies that I will always stand by. Mm-hmm. One is Avatar, when we saw it in an actual big IMAX theater, digital and all that, and Harold and Kumar 3D Christmas, because
Drive Angry.
Drive Angry's not bad too. I've heard, but I haven't seen it. But for Harold and Kumar Christmas, they literally designed it to make fun of the 3D.
Oh, absolutely.
And it is wonderful. Even when watching it like on just regular TV, it's still pretty funny. So the Jim Carrey one, though, like obviously it is one of the most recent adaptations. It's still very jarring, though. Like it's still like seeing it, I'm like, And all the ghosts are also Jim Carrey,
not Marley.
Except for Marley, excuse me. And they all have his face, and they all look like him, and they all talk like him, and which is good because Jim Carrey's versatile like that, so he can make that work. But still, it's the only time you really see the ghosts being him.
Yeah, and I'll never forget that Christmas past. It's a candle.
Yeah.
And he just does this weird
head bopping thing.
And it made no sense.
It was hilarious.
And that's what made us laugh.
It's still funny.
Every time I watch that movie now, I wait for that scene and I just start to crack up.
I can't even watch it. It's so bad. I love it. But
I actually do like that movie. I really do. But
you do? Well, hey, that's the thing about our cinematic adventures. You can like any movie that you want, my friend.
Yeah, dude. Can I?
I mean, yeah, and you and I disagree all the time about movies.
We do disagree a lot.
Yeah, I can't wait till we get to Guilty Pleasure Month at some point, and we're just arguing about how great Dragon Ball Evolution is.
I won't say anything bad about that movie.
I know you won't.
I had nothing going into that movie.
I know you did. It's awesome. Lucky you. But anywho, any other thoughts you want to add?
I said my piece on all of the adaptations I really needed to talk about. Is there anything you missed out on?
No, I think in all honesty, like...
I mean, it's crazy when you look at this list and you just see how many
even just the stage adaptations.
A Diva's Christmas Carol. They did a musical version with Kelsey Grammer.
Yes.
The Bugs Bunny did a Christmas Carol. Brer Rabbit did a Christmas Carol, which I don't understand how that happened. The Smurfs, Sesame Street. I mean, all of them. There was I saw it here. Where did I miss it?
That's what happens when you have public domain.
Yes, seriously.
Seriously.
It's crazy. It really is. I can't find it. There was another one. All Dogs Go to Heaven Christmas Carol.
What? I didn't know that. I have to do some research after this.
So yeah, it's crazy. It really is.
Love it.
It's such a... I feel like this... I mean, I don't know when we're going to get another true adaptation of A Christmas Carol, if we're ever going to... I'm sure we'll get one at some point. Yeah. Probably more so on stage. I think it's
easier. And it
it's
makes
probably
more
easier,
sense.
But it'd be interesting to see because it's now been what? The Jim Carrey one was 2010, 2009, 2010.
Something like that, yeah.
So it's been 12 years. So
Stop saying how long things have been. I'm already freaking out about the 30 years for the Muppets. Okay, stop it.
Did you know today was the 26th anniversary of Scream?
Did you know that today's the anniversary of me punching you in the face? We're about to start celebrating it.
That happened?
Shut up. Just shut up. I know. As soon as I said it. Shut up. As soon as I said it. But anyway... So let's jump into Fan Feedback Friday. No, it's the fun stuff. People like Fan Feedback Friday. So this week, I almost said this year because it's Christmas. If you could choose 3, what would be your choices for holiday movies? So we have Christmas Vacation, The Polar Express, Elf, Miracle on 34th Street, Rudolph, A Christmas Story, Home Alone, The Grinch with Jim Carrey, The Santa Claus, It's a Wonderful Life, Die Hard, and A Charlie Brown Christmas. Let's see. We have 7, 11, and 19. That's Home Alone, Die Hard, and I said 19. 9. The Santa Claus. 4, 5, and 10, which was Miracle on 20. What is it? 34th Street?
Yes.
Dude, I'm tired.
The fact that you've never seen Miracle on 34th Street.
I saw the Mara Wilson one.
Right there.
Rudolph and It's a Wonderful Life, which isn't actually a Christmas
everything.
movie. That's fine.
What?
It's a Wonderful Life's not a Christmas movie.
Then Die Hard's not a Christmas movie.
No, Die Hard would win in a fight.
Stop.
And then
Stop yourself.
So mad.
You're embarrassing yourself.
So mad. We have Elf, The Grinch, and The Santa Claus. And lastly, we have 2, 3, and 8, which is The Polar Express, Elf, and The Grinch. The Elf has like one of the most dedicated fan followings of all time. It's wild. All right, then, on Sean's note. Now, don't forget, if you guys would like to participate in Fan Feedback Friday, it's super easy. If you go to our Facebook page, Cinematic Adventures Podcast, there it is every Friday, usually between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m., or whenever I post it. We also have brand new episodes typically every Tuesday, this time Tuesday night, hopefully, if I can get this all done before I have to go back to work. And then we also have our website, themisfitfaction.com, links to our other podcasts, news, reviews, our store. And if you want to find us on social media, you can just type in the Misfit Faction Media Network, and you'll find us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, whatever it is. Like, comment, subscribe, share, and if you guys download the episodes, we highly appreciate it. It helps keep this channel moving and grooving.
Moving.
Yep, and grooving, as I said.
Grooving.
Anything else, Sean?
Nah, just everybody out there have a nice, happy, and a safe Christmas.
Yes.
Merry Christmas, not happy. I'm not British.
That always bothered me in the Harry Potter movie. Oh my God, Harry Potter's a Christmas movie.
Oh, it's not a Christmas movie.
There's a Christmas scene, and he says Happy Christmas.
Oh my God.
But
Kill me.
anyway.
Somebody save me from this, man.
I'm Paul.
I'm Sean.
And we'll see you guys next time.
Merry Christmas.